Hello, I'm Average Joe. Welcome back to the world. Today we're back in the manor because we are going to build the final room, and that is the basement. Now, the basement is going to be accessible from each of the three other rooms we've built so far. And you get back to the hall here from the basement through that door there. It is also going to be where the machine that the man in the house used ended up. So it's going to be mostly just under here somewhere. And it's going to be directly under that hole there. But before I get into that, I kind of want to show off some of the other stuff I've been doing in the meantime. Out here in the kitchen, I've been adding some new decorations. Specifically, I've been adding barrels, chests, and some shelves all around because I finally have something to put down the scrap quickly. So there's going to be two ways to get scrap. You can either pick something up off the floor here, or you can open a barrel or a chest that has scrap in it. Now, I've got three new tools. I have the wand to lock containers, I have the wand to make containers contain scrap, and I have a wand to place down scrap. The mechanics for scrap have now changed. There is now a 1 in 10 chance at the end of a person's turn to regenerate scrap or to place down scrap in the designated locations, or to refill a barrel with scrap. They won't always refill, because like I said, 10% chance, and I do want to make it a bit rarer, because the way it is right now, all the scrap in the map could just regenerate at once, and that's not ideal. But yeah, because of these new tools here, I've been adding some decorations I could use to potentially hide bits and pieces in. Like you could have some on the shelf here, you could open up some of these chests, they're all locked right now, obviously. And I've been trying to just add some stuff that adds a bit of light around here, and maybe a bit of, I don't know, just, what's the word? Kind of like vibes, I guess. So you have like this little thing that I basically ripped off from Tears of the Kingdom that could have bits of scrap on it, and there's a little fireplace in the middle that could also have some scrap on it. There's gonna be like piles of chests and stuff around, things like this, and you know, just some general stuff to kind of flesh out this area more. Beforehand it looked, I don't know, kind of empty, which was fine, but I feel like more could be added here. And I've been trying to add things that I could potentially hide scrap in. And scrap can actually look like anything, it's just going to be a tiny little block on the ground at first. So yeah, that is kind of what I've been doing the past couple of days. All of this scrap stuff, though, I did today, and a little bit of yesterday. Mostly just some really simple stuff to get it done quickly. But yeah, I think now it is time to get started on the basement. I kind of have a plan. I know I want it to be big. I don't know if I want it to be bigger than everywhere else. But it needs to be big, not just vertically. And there's a slight problem with that. And that is because with the new updates, the distant walls have fog. They are foggy. And it's really noticeable during the day when everything is set to night. It's a bit better. But, yeah, there is still fog. So if I make something that is just a big empty room even larger than this, it's going to have issues with that fog. And I don't know if I should do something to deal with that or not. Do I want to make the room smaller? Do I want to put things in the way? I don't know. It's just something to think about. But for right now, I think just need to get started on the room in general. And I think part of that is figuring out where the bottom of the world is. It's like this floor is on Y65, Y64, and I think the world, the bottom of the world itself is negative 64. So that's 128 blocks from top to bottom. And I don't know exactly what the size of these rooms are, but I can actually use my measurement tool to get a rough estimate. That is actually only 37 blocks, so we could go 4 times that and probably still have enough room to build. So yeah, I'm gonna see about what I can do here. Um, yeah, I guess just time for a little time lapse. Hey. This does not feel like a lot, but it's been a few hours now, and I am actually exhausted. I I definitely chose a bad scale for doing this. This is bigger than all of the other rooms, and I am trying to put some rubble in, and like, oh man, I am beat. So beat. But yeah, this is what the machine is essentially going to look like. It's not really what it looked like in my sketches, but you know what, it's close enough. There's definitely more that needs to be done, because this needs to be wrapped up in the little plant things that are hanging out all around the manor and stuff. But yeah, that is that. Definitely gonna work more on this, but right now I need to take a break, take a nap. I made the pipe going down look like PVC pipe. I think this works for that. Used bone block. I think it works pretty well. Oh, wait, hang on. You want to know what this looks like without night vision? Yeah, you really can't see a thing. But that fog is so prevalent. How big is this thing anyways? It is 185 blocks in that direction. And 139 in the other. This is a doozy of a life choice, let me tell you. I have lit up the bathroom a little bit. I put some hidden lighting underneath here, even though it's not really hidden, it's right there. But you can't really see it from where you're standing on the spaces. And when you're up here, you can't really see where the lighting is either. The lighting up here is pretty much way more noticeable because the frog lights are like right there. But there's lighting in the mirrors now, there's lighting in the towel hangers here. And I've put some onto the toilet itself. In fact, I put some end rods up here and glow lichen in the back to help light up everything around there. I've been focusing on lighting and places to put down the scrap stuff. Most of my focus has been in the kitchen. The table over here has lighting built into under the carpet. Let's see. These put off some light. I put some lights underneath carpets over here so that you can actually see. Maybe not that one. Definitely not that one. Yeah, I put some frog lights under other carpets to help with lighting around here. There's some underneath these chests here, and there's glow lichen on this potato that fell down from somewhere. There's even a bit of lighting in this spot over here. Anyways, I'm gonna log off for a minute and take a nap, and I'll see you guys when I get back. Alright, well, it's been a bit longer than I thought it was. It's actually been a couple days since I've been here last. I would have been here sooner, but, allergies just were horrible yesterday. Absolute worst. I could not do barely anything. So I spent most of my time figuring out how to make a new smoothing tool. because making these little piles of rubble here was a good use of this brush tool, but it was ultimately very time consuming. So I started looking for faster ways to go about that. And I did find one. I watched Captain Disillusioned video on Blur and how that works in video editing and the mathematics behind it, and I did not implement that kind of a system, but I did do something similar. Wow, okay. I am still doing a marching thing, but it's a lot closer to, uh, Conway's Game of Life than it is to any actual mathematical stuff. Essentially, all I'm doing is taking an armor stand and checking every block. If the block has 3 or less neighbors, then it is air. And if it has 4 or more neighbors, then it's a solid block. And that will, in the long run, cut down on sharp corners and stuff. But in the short term, it doesn't look the best. But I'm working on it, especially since it stopped working for some reason, and I honestly have no idea why. All I did was store some data in the armor stand that does the smoothing stuff. So if I just take a little selection here... Oh yeah, it also broke my selection tool for some reason, and I had to kind of just rewrite that from scratch. You can see that there's just one armor stand sitting out there, and don't even know why. I had to extend the area it loads by 2 chunks instead of 1, so I really don't know what's going on here. And there isn't even an armor stand flagged over there. I think that's because this is the chunk that is loading. But yeah, it's a bit of a mess. I'm not sure how to go about fixing that. But if I do run the function, which I'm probably going to have to type it out, because I've been doing debugging. Oh, well now it works just fine. Oh, wait a second. Why is it all the way out here? Okay, numbers are getting screwed up somewhere. And I haven't the foggiest idea where. That's great. That's great. I genuinely don't know what's screwing up here. Like, it's at the right Y level, but it's just at the wrong X for some reason. And I think it keeps getting further back. But yeah, that's what I've been doing the past 2 days. Falling behind on my schedule a little bit. That's fine, honestly, at this point. But yeah, to make this smoothing thing work, I've added a new dimension. You can kind of see it drawing out the area here. Kind of. I think it's, yeah, it's pretty close to starting the iteration over again. And hopefully it does it from here? Why is it over there? Well, I'm going to keep working on that, but something else I'm going to do is actually making the vines that are supposed to be climbing up this thing. So my initial interpretation of this machine actually was, whatever. My initial interpretation of this machine had multiple different mechanical arms poking out of it. But the way it stands right now, I think I'm just going to do some organic vines crawling up this and kind of mimicking the red bulb at the end, which kind of would make a person question which came first, the machine or the plants. But yeah, just gonna use a brush, grab some some blocks. I had a specific one in mind, and I think it was stripped. Ah, yeah, here we go. Open up my tool settings. Yeah, that'll be enough. Okay. Now just put this in my offhand, and I can just brush some cubes up around the side of this machine. And I can do some manual smoothing later to make it seem a bit more like a twisting vine. But for right now, I think just making a general shape would be the best plan for now. Right. So, I did a little bit more than the general shape. Mostly just tried to get some ideas out about how I'm doing this. But I do have the general shape of this thing kind of put around it, and it does make it feel a bit more creepy. Definitely a bit more creepy. So there is a couple offshoots going around, wrapping around this thing. And I have smaller vines, what are meant to be vines, kind of grabbing around the joints and the central eye over there to kind of suggest that this thing that the plant is manipulating the machine and mimicking it, rather than the other way around. Now, the shape of this thing is using 3x3 cubes. I tried doing some smoothing around it, but I'll be honest, I don't know how much I like that. I kind of like how the cubes look, but I can experiment around with that later. And I added little bulbs with eyes on them that kind of look like they're following you. So this is playing off of a well-known optical illusion where you can make it seem like an eye is following you by using parallax. So things that are farther away move slower than things that are closer up, and because of that, it makes it look like the center of the eye is moving around it to follow us, when in reality, nothing up there is moving. And I've got two that look left and right, and two that kind of look up and down. I don't much like the top one there, and this doesn't do much other than just kind of makes it a little bit creepy if you get closer to it. But I wanted it to look like this little plant was staring at you once you fell down that pipe there. Now, I do still have to add a bit more details to this. I want to add more of the tendrils grabbing onto bits of the machine. Kind of want to make it look like it's covered with them. And up there, where the mechanical pupil is, I want to put an armor stand. And it's going to look like the old man from the story, the man in the house. Haven't done any work on why my selection tools are just broken. But I'll figure something out. It's fine. They at least still function, so I'm not going to worry too much about it. That looks about not really how I had originally drawn it, but it's pretty good, I think. With the plants kind of curling all around the machine, it definitely looks more like I wanted it. I think there are some spots where I could definitely put some more on, just have every inch of this thing covered with these warped vines. But that's probably something a little bit later. For now, I need to keep working on just the rest of the room, really. And one thing I had thought about doing was making this stand on a little island in the middle of not necessarily a river, but just an open area of water. Because it's a plant, it needs water, right? So I kind of brushed out where I think a good point for the water would be. The problem with this area here is that I also want there to be rubble so that people can climb up this area. Because the way to get back when you're exploring is to fall down there, and you'll be teleported back up to the top. So that needs a way to get up there, and I'm thinking a really big pile of rubble like these, but with steeper walls. Anyways, I'm gonna take like 5 seconds to clean this up. And then I'm gonna get working on the little pond here. Not entirely sure how deep I want it to be. The deeper I want it, the more complicated this is going to get. And I'm not sure how complicated I want it to be. Yeah, there's also been really weird noises happening all around here. And, I don't know what's causing that. I kind of just assumed it was ambient cave sounds, but that last one sounded like metal. Well, so be it. Just gotta take some time to take care of this then, and I'll get back to you guys when that's done. Alright, it has been several hours. I've got the water in here, sample decoration, and a pipe, and I'm gonna turn on night vision so you can see it a bit better. That's more like it. It doesn't really have the same kind of vibe as when the lights are off, though. Anyways, I do have the little water bits done. I think I'm going to change the texture of the bottom of the thing there, maybe to be andesite or something a bit noisier than just smooth stone. The pipe up here is going to have a little secret chest in there, and it will look like you can go up here, but you can't. It's just a dead end. Now, I added this little decoration here to kind of explain where the pipes between those two went, but it's definitely not long enough, so it's really just suggesting an answer. But I could add more pipe, just fallen and broken pipes around here, maybe some sticking out of the rubble or something. That could be an idea. But the next things I have to do is get a way up to the exit up there, and really just figuring out why my tools aren't working right. And right now I am not in any state to do that. Okay. So for the time being, I've taken a break from building. I've tried building up the pile of rubble here, but it looks like it's definitely going to need some work. I have made the plants coming out of the pipe that you enter from, and it is, I think at some point this needs to connect to the main thing, or maybe not, I don't know. But I have also added a couple of little chests you can find on the machine here, and I did actually make it so that you can get on top of this thing and climb around. But I've decided to take a break from building and go back to working on the smoothing tool to kind of help with this. I think getting a good tool put together will definitely help with this rubble, although I think the main thing I need to do is make the base of this more circular, which, yeah, that's a lot of work, so I am distracting myself. Now, my one method for doing this was, if I had an area, would be to start off in one spot, and then just go over and over and over and over until you got to the end, and then go one block down until you reach the bottom, repeating it every time. But that takes way too long. So my next idea was to just go over the surface and grab the Y coordinate, see if that specific block at the highest Y coordinate has enough things around it, and if it does, I can do whatever I need to do there. But that is a bit of a problem, because to do that, I need to find the highest point on the area. So the fastest way I know to do that is to take the spread player command and use it to spread the player just one block. However, when I tried it, that doesn't quite work. It seems to spread the players in a one block radius around the point, which is not good. So the alternate method would be to take the highest point and go down until you hit something that wasn't air, which I can do. In fact, that'd probably be easier than using the spread players, because I can actually track what the Y coordinate of the entity is when I'm doing that. So that's probably the method I'm going to take. My only other concern is that with large areas, smoothing is going to take more time. Now, when I did my cloning commands and my fill commands to reduce the amount of time it takes, I made it so that I would clone large chunks at a time or fill large chunks at a time rather than a small amount at a time. But I can't do that with the smoothing command because that, well, it just doesn't work like that. I need to know the individual Y level of each coordinate. And when I'm filling in cloning, I don't need to know that, which means I can do larger portions. Smoothing, can't do larger portions, need to do it one block at a time. Now, going over the Y level instead of every single block is going to speed it up, but it's still going to be rather slow. But I really don't think I have much of a choice. Because otherwise I need to, like... Otherwise I don't know how else I would do that, honestly. But yeah, that is, I'm gonna start working on the smoothing tool. Maybe do a little bit of building in between. But yeah, that is the point I am at right now. Alright, I think I need to call it here. I've spent a few hours working on the smoothing program, the smoothing functions, and I just cannot figure out what's going wrong here. And it's so frustrating, mostly because it did work. It was really slow, but it did work. And then I decided to try and make it faster, and now it just doesn't work at all. Like, I thought everything was going fine. According to the code, everything should work right. But then something like that happens, and suddenly there's just a hole where the hall used to be. And I think I just need to give up on this smoothing program and just quit trying to do it and make it work. Because I'm just done with this. I am done with this. It's gonna take me forever to fix all of this back up, and I am already behind schedule, so I'm calling it here. It's just... it is not worth the time to try and make this work. So, if you liked the video, leave a like. If you want to see more of this, go ahead and subscribe. Maybe leave a comment about how stupid I was for trying to continue doing this. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time, where hopefully this is fixed. See ya.